Friday was a historic day for basketball in India when Sacramento Kings took on the Indiana Pacers in the first preseason games in Mumbai. While the two teams are playing the first games in India, the league is also looking at the possibility of doing more business in the country. Commissioner Adam Silver said the NBA is giving serious consideration to the launch of a league in India. There is a possibility of a 12-team league in India that would follow in the footsteps of Basketball Africa League, which will begin in the next 5 years, as per Silver.
I think, and Vivek can speak to this as well, we've seen enormous progress just in the last 5 years. I mean, when we began our relationship with the Reliance Foundation, for example, shortly before I became commissioner, the target was to reach 3 million young people. And as I said earlier, that number has now already exceeded 10 million. We saw last season with our relationship with Sony 10, almost 100 people in India watch some portion of the NBA season, including an enormous audience for last year's NBA Finals. We're also seeing...
You meant 100 million, I think.
I'm sorry. What did I say? I'm sorry, 100 million.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, jet lag? So, 100 million, and we're seeing an explosion of interest on social media. One of the things we've been discussing recently, and I know this is something else, but my friend Vivek is pushing me on, and that is the ability to launch a league here in India. As I've said, we have wonderful partners in the Reliance Corporation, with Sony 10, our broadcaster, and some of our other top-notch corporate relationships here. That is something in these days while we're here that we're taking meetings on and openly having discussions. I will say that I'm not sure 5 years ago that was something that was even possible, but because of changes in technology, the explosion of 5G that is reducing latency, allowing incredible numbers of connections in dense urban areas, the engagement that we're seeing from young fans here through mobile technology, and plus the academy that we now have in Delhi, and the large numbers of young people playing, I think there's an opportunity to do that, and that's something we're very engaged in. So I think our two most immediate goals are, one, to see the development of some top-tier talent coming out of India, and where we would, again, see players coming into the NBA and WNBA. There's also an enormous pool of young women playing the game as well, and serious consideration of the launch of a league. And Vivek, I'm sure you want to add something.
Yeah, no, I think
I'll answer the second question first. The answer is absolutely yes to, do we expect to see more teams? One of the things, though, we need is more of an arena infrastructure. I mean, I think this is where Vivek was a little ahead of the schedule that we might otherwise have been on. I mean, this is a fantastic facility we're in today, but it required us bringing in a court, a scoreboard, seats, locker rooms, and it's relatively small, certainly by NBA standards. So I have had some interesting discussions with developers over the last 2 days here, and I think it's inevitable that there will be state-of-the-art arenas in major cities in India, in part because these are multi-use facilities, and live entertainment is increasingly important here as well. Of course, a great arena can have concerts and other shows, but we do need to see those arenas over time in order to play more games. In terms of timing on the league, as I said, it's something we're giving serious consideration to right now. I mean, I actually, Vivek, one place where at least I said publicly where I'm ahead of you, that I announced earlier today, it's my hope that within 5 years, we have an Indian player in the NBA, and I think for serious consideration of a league, I'd use that same timing. It's something we would hope to do within the next 5 years. We're seeing tremendous enthusiasm, and Herb, maybe you can speak to this as well, because we've been talking about just how Fantastic the hospitality has been, but I know at the functions we've had so far, what always amazes me when I travel is how knowledgeable the fans are, particularly the young fans. I think whether you live in Sacramento or you live in Indianapolis, it's the same internet, the same apps, the same websites. And the young people here seem to know all our players from the top of the roster to the bottom. And we have several legends here as well. My colleague Kiki Vanderway is here sitting in the front row. He works in the league office now, but was a great NBA player and great college player. And seemingly all the young people know all his statistics. But I know, Herb, you were saying to me earlier, just it's amazing the level of support here. I'll answer your first question quickly, then hand to Vivek. It's a great question in terms of sustaining the model. I'd only say, look at our track record. As Herb Simon was saying earlier, I think we put both feet on the ground in China, and we meant it, and we made a large financial investment. We made a large investment in terms of the commitment of people. We have 3 offices there now, several hundred people, and this is not for the faint of heart. I think it's why we've been very cautious in terms of our approach in India. You recognize that it's fantastic and, as I said, historic to have these 2 games here. But in the larger scope of developing a business, it's a very small step. You really have to go into it knowing that this is going to be a long-term project, especially, as I said earlier, that requires an arena infrastructure if we're serious about a league. I'll just add, by saying, in addition to all the wonderful qualities that sports bring and the impact we can have on young people, what we saw in China, what we're seeing now in our developments in Africa, is that sports can be an economic engine for industry as well. There's an enormous amount of ancillary businesses that come around an arena development. It's, as Vivek said, we are fantastic programming for fiber networks, for 5G, and you know, it's a fantastic platform for new technologies, but it needs to be sustained, and it requires a long-term commitment.